Good afternoon, everyone. As promised, I said that I would pop on here just after 1 o'clock, and it's 13 minutes past 1 now. I've got two landlord videos that I'd like to share with you this week. The first one being today, the second one will be tomorrow. And today's is about SPTs versus CPTs, and that basically means a statutory periodic tenancy versus a contractual periodic tenancy. Statutory periodic tenancies came about as after a case called Superstrike versus Rodriguez that ruled that statutory periodic tenancies created a new tenancy every single month. So every single month it becomes a new tenancy, and therefore you need to comply with any legislation that applies to a new tenancy. Some of the things that would be applicable would be the electric regs, the deposit reduction, council tax, landlord liability, etc. A statutory periodic tenancy is a tenancy agreement that doesn't state that it will roll contractually. It doesn't say anything about an extension, and therefore under statutory obligation it will become a new tenancy every single month. Now, contractual periodic tenancy is exactly what it says. There will be a clause within the contract that allows the contract to continue on a contractual extension of the initial fixed term. Therefore, no new tenancy has been created. It's just merely an extension of the initial term, and a clause that you should have within your agreement to create a contractual tenancy. Basically, should say along the lines thereafter, unless any subsequent fixed term is agreed from month to month until terminated by either party serving a notice on the other in accordance with this agreement. Basically, this then makes it a contractually rolling contract. Things like the tenant fee ban that came into play a couple of years back, if it was a contractual rolling tenancy, we didn't need to reduce the deposit. It was contractually rolling tenancy before the 1st of April 2021. Then we didn't need to worry about the electrical certificates until that date. On a statutory periodic tenancy, you will have needed to, because obviously it rolls from month to, creates a new tenancy every month. So those of you who haven't looked at your contracts, I'd encourage you to do so. Look at whether statutory works for you, or whether a contractual would work for you. One of the biggest reasons as well from a point of view of the landlord is the council tax liability, because I don't know if you know, but council tax regulations state that unless a tenancy is for longer than 6 months, the liability for payment of council tax falls on the landlord. Now, not many people know this, so it's certainly something that you would need to look into. Council tax regulations state that if a tenancy is for less than a 6-month period, the landlord is responsible for the payment of council tax. So within council tax regulations, there is a hierarchy system as to who the council can pursue for payment. If a statutory periodic tenancy occurs, the tenancy is for a period of 1 month every month, and therefore the length of the tenancy is 1 month, and therefore doesn't meet the requirement of the 6 month minimum, and therefore the council can make the landlord responsible for council tax through the duration of the tenant's periodic status. And I would encourage you to look at the Leeds City Council versus Broadley case, whereby the council took Mr Broadley to court for payments of council tax on 5 of his properties after the tenants vacated, and said that under a rolling contract they were no longer responsible for the council tax after they moved out. But because he had a contractual periodic tenancy, he won his case and was not responsible for the council tax. So have a look at that case. It's really interesting, and it should shed some more light on it for you. I think that case was about 4 or 5 years ago now. So, but do have a look at it. But they are sort of like the differences between a contractual periodic tenancy and a statutory periodic tenancy. And obviously, as I said, the statutory periodic creates a new tenancy every month, whereas a contractual obviously is minimum 6 months and continues obviously with the clause which I read a little bit earlier. Hope that helps. Tomorrow's landlord update will be on EICRs, with regard to the electrical regs and safety certificates. So I'll be back just after 1. And I'll see you tomorrow. Thank you very much. Bye-bye.